I suppose in the 18-year history of our show, we've never had any star who's won such affectionate acceptance.
Put a chick in it, make her gay.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
They were big. They were hitting hard too, man.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Broaden the areas of participation for women.
That sounds very stylish.
What is my problem?
What do you think?
Beat sitting home watching television?
I'm sorry. I was I was just looking at the chat, and my favorite troll Jabba happened to grace us with his presence. And yeah, he's at it already. He's in good form already. I love it when people set a timer for a live stream, only for there to be another timer. Great stuff. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what you do, right? Oh, righty, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's just me for the moment. Shane, he ended up winning the I guess the arm wrestling match with Mange, or against Mange, and so Shane was going to be the one to be here. So we're waiting for him to make his latent gay, or his diva appearance. So hopefully he didn't forget. I've been saying everything. Oh yes, Shane's best friend Woden Shot. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. For fuck's sake, Shane. Oh, here he is. Hold on. Let's see. What should I play for the man of the hour? Oh, I think I have a little fun one here. It's a little long, so don't complain, Jabba.
Down, get a hold of yourself.
Stewardess, please let me handle this.
Calm down now. Get back to your seat. I'll take care of this. Calm down. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Doctor, you're wanted on the phone. Everything's gonna be all right. Please.
Sister, please, I'll handle this.
I gotta get out of here. Out of here. I gotta get out of here.
Hello, Crossfire. Well, I'm so glad that you won that arm wrestling match. From what I understand, it was a bit touchy there for a moment, but you were ready to subdue the Mange, and you came out victorious. So I guess all that preparation and fighting paid off. Awesome.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, I mean, there was a little bit of confusion here. We weren't sure if it was going to be the Mange or you, wonderful Shane Davis.
Yeah.
And so, a bit of a question there. I mean, I came prepared. I wore my shirt.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
See, it's like, this is the thing. It's like, if I'm going to talk about the book, I don't Mange talking about the book. You might give away things. You may just sell you the wrong book. I don't know.
Yeah, that is perfectly fair and probably highly likely. I could almost picture him just kind of eating the book, like one of those Sally Struthers Somalians, sending the Bibles over to the starving Marvin Somalians, and Shane's just or not Shane, but Mange is over there, eating it. But I do have
likely, yeah.
I have the card in his honor.
Dude, I had beautiful women coming up to me at Heroes Con wanting me to sign that card right in front of my wife. It was very awkward. Keeping Yancy on her toes, though, It's like,
yeah, I saw how it was back last year at Tampa Bay Comic-Con, where you were ditching poor Yancy. I'm sorry. Mange was ditching poor Yancy and leaving her with Terry. And yeah, you were just cruising along, charging $5 for some photographs. And
you have to. I know people think you have to, but I'm here to tell you do. You got to keep women guessing.
Well, I mean, that's true. That's true. You got to keep us on our toes.
Jesus, what is Shane doing here? Talking about the book.
Yes. And let's do a little housekeeping first before we dive.
Oh, who are you kicking out?
Before we dive into the goodness of the sexy cover there. But anyway, I just, not too long ago, I became monetized, and I just recently became, got my memberships and everything available. Not sure who the hell would want to join this crazy ass channel, but if you do, we have a couple of different tiers that check them out. You can click the link on the YouTube page. I don't know if anyone can link it. You know, I probably need to add some more mods here at some point. I should add Woden Shot. Is that dangerous? Is that advisable, Shane? Should I have Woden Shot as a mod?
I mean, maybe you can get some sense into him. I mean, I don't know. Like I've tried to get him. That whole take your shot was just like, hey, you know, idle hands or, you know, toys for the devil or whatever. It's like, maybe he'll quit harassing me if I can, you know, bully him. He's bullying me, but I'm trying to bully him into dropping links. You know.
Well, you can't bully a bird. I mean, especially an owl. They are kind of known as the old wise ones for a reason. And he's grateful already. He says, "Oh, great! Now I have work." So maybe I could keep him occupied. If he's helping me out over here, maybe he's not torturing you and making you hate life over there.
Yeah, good luck. You know,
He's
that's
kind of like the yang to your yin, you know?
Is he?
I don't know. I'm talking out of my butt. Come on. I had a little bit of Red Bull and all that. Because I mean, you're known for having, you know, peak energy here. So I got to keep up with your peak energy.
I don't know. Some people like to complain about what I do on streams. It's like, go out there, do better. I implore. Go out there, do better.
I won't mention it. Don't worry, her and the steadfast. Oh, goodness. All right. Well,
little tease promise. Everybody, somebody actually came up to me at Heroes Comics and he's like, I just need to know, is Lil T really going to take care of that girl? And I'm like, oh my God. Everybody's obsessed over this. Are you ever going to tell us what happens to the girl? And I'm like, no.
I'm a little bummed at myself because before I really kind of got into everything, I didn't realize the importance of supplementals and what I, you know, the little extra meat and potatoes that I would be missing if I didn't back the supplementals. So I'm hoping that I can still pick up a supplemental when, I guess, when you put it on the 9 Live site. So
yeah. We're gonna put some up. So you know, I don't know if we're doing it. We actually might be doing it in the next week, or maybe the first of next week, because we've basically fulfilled everything with the campaign now. So there's no reason not to put up stock for people. Now, usually we overprice or mark up a little bit to protect the backers to make sure they get the best deal. But
yeah,
we try to keep a version on the site that's walk-in $25, but it's not a cover drawn by me or anything. It's usually somebody else.
Oh, wow. We got a super chat here from Travis Perrick for $5. Thank you, Travis. Very kind of you. Shane, if and when you put the collection of Inglorious Rex on the bookshelves of Barnes & Noble, make sure the spine is eye-popping like your cover. I don't know if he means...
Not a lot of room to mess with the spine. I don't even know. I think the only book of mine that had a really great spine was, what was it? Maybe Superman Earth 1. Like that was designed to pop off the shelf. But I don't know. We'll have to do a whole new spine design and all of that when we get to a trade, because the thickness. Every time, you know, like whenever you go to print with the book, depending on how thick it is, if it's perfect bound, you have to design, you basically have new specs for the spine. So therefore you have to design new graphics right now. Like, you know, I mean, this isn't really sitting on the shelf. I mean, I don't know, maybe some people are putting it on the shelf, but when we get to that stage where we do like a collection, I'm definitely going to redo the spine design.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Maybe you could do something where there is an image that kind of spans, you know,
I'll probably
the collective
do, like,
work.
a corner or something and have like an image of something there, or 9 lives turned different or something like that. I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna do like a chunk with a different color on the spine. But yeah, we'll definitely design a spine for a collection.
That'll be awesome. I don't know if this is a troll or not, because I'm learning all of your regulars kind of quirks and jabs and stuff. Tatooini says, "Fix your mic, Shane." I don't know if anyone else is having issues. You sound great over here.
It
Anyone
should
else having
be
problems?
mic. Let me go see. Test mic. No, it's the right mic. I think they're trolling.
All right. Well, wanted to make sure. Better safe than sorry. So thank you so much. I wanted to say right off the bat, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day and, working on Inglorious Rex 3 and Extend and all that, and agreeing to join me. I really appreciate it. And it really means a lot. And I guess before we dive into kind of chatting about Inglorious Rex 2, could you give a brief overview for maybe some newbies that might so happen to be joining us, what the world of Inglorious Rex entails? What is it about?
Sure. But first, tell me about you.
What do you want to know?
I don't know. Like, how's the channel been going?
It's been going really well. I kind of have little spurts where, you guys have been kind enough to have me on your channel, or I've been on with Cecil or John, and I get these like little spurts where I get an influx of subscribers. I had a little bit of a lull lately, but I think that is due to me because I don't know if you caught any of my video yesterday, my apology tour video, where I was just kind of had a little bit of a malaise, I think, surrounding kind of everything that's going on in our little community, our little world.
Yeah.
And I just kind of, it was really hard to draw inspiration. But that's on me. Like I'm a girl. I kind of get affected by emotional crap like that a little too easily.
It's really weird. It's really weird. Like, sometimes people come into groups and sometimes people leave groups, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times when people want to leave groups, they don't want to just quietly go into the night. They kind of want to kick, scream, and mess it up and try to
set it on fire.
Yeah. So, and they want to be heard. They want to make a scene. They want to flip over the table.
Damn.
Silverware everywhere. They're going to say, "There's a fly in my soup," and then they hope you spit your food out and you go with them. And maybe there never was a fly in their soup. Maybe they're just having a tantrum and would like you to join them in their tantrum, so they don't feel like they're having a tantrum.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing that I guess that's the real kicker is, a lot of people that I followed for years, it's just kind of to see them just what seems like so easily just turn their back and walk away. It was just, I don't personally have a direct involvement in it, but it still kind of felt like a knife, kind of like, what are you doing? You're breaking my heart. You're going someplace I can't go.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know. But I at the end of the day, I just have to remind myself that, people are going to do what they do and, make their choices. And I got to live my life and enjoy what I want to do. And it was just a bad time on my part because all of these great comics were coming in and it was just coming in right when I was in this funk. But I think I'm dusting myself off. I think,
put some dirt in it, shake it off, get back on the field. Abra, we need you.
All right. I'm shaking it off. Yeah.
Shake it off. Nothing's wrong with you. Get up, get back on the field. No. All right. So talking about Inglorious Rex, evolution is survival. Inglorious Rex is about, a city on the brink of destruction. That's Ark City, the last bit of humankind. And, Alex Stone is an up and coming fighter. He's tasked with piloting his late brother's Rex. What is a giant Rex? Okay. It's a giant kaiju. It's basically a giant kaiju that, it protects the city. it's usually crafted from the DNA of a martial artist. So therefore they can fight when they're outside the city. Trained fighters. Only the best fighters get chosen for this task. He has the opportunity, and he takes it, for a revenge fight against the guy who killed his brother in book 1. And he never really thinks about what happens if he wins. He's just consumed with the idea of revenge.
Right, like raw emotion.
Right. He has a girlfriend who is also a Rex fighter, who he kind of, by taking this fight, knocks her out of the way of her next opponent, which would, for the crown, which would have been the guy who killed her Alex's brother. So he kind of lets go of his future to chase his past. And that's where we are in book 1. There's a lot of cool characters like Little T, who was the promoter and the genetic engineer of the Rexes and stuff like that. And, I never really I like giant robots, and I love Godzilla and stuff like that. But really, I took inspiration from the book We 3. Which, this is going to sound weird. If you read We 3, it's about the government taking animals and using animals as a type of military weapon and souping them up with robot gear and laser cannons and whatever, mines. The cat throws like blades, stuff like that.
Dang. So this is a manga?
Wait, no.
The We 3?
No, We 3 is written by Grant Morrison and drawn by Frank Wiley.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for clearing that up, because I'm still, new to comics.
No. It was a Vertigo book, so it kind of flew up under the radar a little bit, but you definitely should go check it out. The reason I bring up We 3 is it's not really discussed in there a lot, but there's a brilliance in using shortcutting, all the robotic stuff with sensory overload, like senses, like, balance. You see people try to make all these robots do all these, run up and down hills and jog and whatever, and they're falling over. It's a lot of work. What if you just strap weapons onto a dog and you could control the dog? The dog has balance, a sense of balance. It has sight. It has smell. It can test the temperature of things, whatever. So to me, I went down this. As a creator, I'm like, the giant robot stuff doesn't make sense. They're out here. If robot takes a big swing, it's denting up its hand, or what if it loses an arm? That's got to be expensive to replace the arm. And then that got me really thinking about these genetic monsters. What if you could control and make genetic monsters that a human pilots, a lot like a Gundam or something, right? But
how much of the Rex, like what percentage, or can you even say what percentage of the DNA would be, more of that monster type DNA versus the human pilot's DNA?
It would be, let's just say, that one's weird. It's kind of would be 50-50. Let's just call it 50-50 to a sense. The reason they all look different and stuff, I have a reason. I haven't really shown people why they look different and why they look monstrous. Some people have figured it out, some people haven't, so I don't want to spoil that. But the idea of them being cloned from the humans is that their neural system can link up, so the pilot can control. They're straight laced, and that's what they're called, lace suits. Their neural systems are basically intertwined. So if like a pilot wants, and this is why they pick martial artists, if the pilot wants it to move left, it moves left. If it counters, if it punches, if it kicks, it's important that the memory, muscle memory and the reflexes are all there, and that's also why the pilots aren't like in the city, like trying to, I don't know, control them from, while they're outside, because there's a delay. So they have to be strapped to their backs. Their neural system has to be laced up. And that's kind of the basic concept. That even in book 2, you'll see, Alex training and hitting a bag with his dad and stuff. Again, every Rex pilot still has to keep their reflexes up. They still have to know how to throw a kick, muscle memory, reaction, counter, weave, bob, all of that stuff. Angle, move. giant weapons and munitions and stuff aren't like, they don't really have, and this is going to sound weird, they really don't have the resources for it. I haven't really dealt with that in the book yet and presented that to the readers. But again, going back to the giant robot versus Rex's argument and why this is a thing in the book is, the Rexes can get damaged, right? And they have an immune system and they'll heal. So it's a lot more cost effective to have giant monsters than giant robots.
How rapidly do they grow in those incubators?
So I kind of told people that with book 2, because at book 1, one of the Rexes is killed, and then a re-evolved version of that Rex appears in book 2, and the story is a year later. So in about a year, say a baby Rex can grow into something that can be piloted.
I gotcha.
The other part of using these flesh monsters, right, like Rexes, right, and this has more to do with the monster part of the DNA rather than the actual human DNA, is they're able to evolve, and this is really important to the citizens of Arc City, because the Vile are these things outside the walls that come in all different sizes. Some human height, so like they're running in tunnels or buildings and killing everybody in buildings, and then there's giant Titan Rexes, which are the size of a Rex. There's some Vile that fly. There are all kinds of different ones. I'm even drawing new Vile in Inglorious Rex 3. So the idea that Rexes need to evolve and to push evolution, they have to fight. Like, if not, they're just going to sit around and get lethargic, fat, or whatever. But they actually start to, there's a natural evolution that happens from being competitive, from fighting. So a lot of these Rex fights are to bring out a better Rex.
Is it kind of taking the hits or just the experience, or kind of like a combination of all of that?
It's a combination of all of that, but let's just say the Rexes don't usually stop growing, right?
Oh wow.
Okay, so the I like kickboxing a lot, and one of the things in kickboxing is you actually have to do shin conditioning.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen something like that. Ugh.
Yeah, you have to take like a stick and beat your shins sometimes, and roll it out with like a rolling pin. And what you're doing is you're killing the nerves, but you're actually making micro fractures. And the micro fractures actually make your bone stronger, like your little cracks that then heal, and it just, your bone becomes stronger, and that's very important for checking kicks, or just, you've seen some video, and you can go out there and look it up, where a dude like kicks and his leg just snaps.
Yeah. Oh my God. I used to watch Ultimate Fighting and with the UFC, and oh my God, some of those injuries are just gnarly.
Yeah.
Oh. And
there was a famous basketball player where he just comes down on his foot and it just snaps. And again, that's the lack of shin conditioning. Like, you don't even have to be hitting something. So this whole I know that sounds weird, but that's a big inspiration too. Like being hit and hitting back is actually causing them to their body to try to adapt and be stronger. And it's not, the combat is pulling them into being a better beast, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like,
it's kind of like, I guess, a fighter when you do, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
I hate that.
You're good. You're good.
I just didn't want to lose this. It's kind of like how the fighters have to learn to take the hits and, realize, I think I've heard it in some movie, that they're not made of glass, and that, they just get used to it over time. I guess your head, your brain probably gets used to kind of being dizzy or whatever after you get hit a few times.
Actually,
you kind of learn to fight through it.
The head is the one thing you can't condition.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like nobody. If you're never going to condition your jaw, you're never going to condition your head. You condition everything else on your body, but some people just have a glass jaw, and they just go down with a punch. They can't get that out. But that is the one part of the body you can't condition.
Did you know that this was from way back? Like, how long did you kind of stew on the idea of Inglorious Rex? Has this been in your mind for a while now?
So sometimes, like, all right, this is where it gets interesting. Pitching books and projects a lot, right? You'll come across like just ideas through a pitch that you want to do, and it just goes wrong. You know, like for a long time, I was really trying to get a martial art combat book pitched and pushed into comics there before I came to Comicsgate. One of them was an Iron Fist pitch that I had that he would be framed for murder. He goes to whatever big supervillain prison. I can't remember the name of it. Marvel has one where they put all the supervillains in, and it's ran by Kingpin. And you know, when the lights go out, they're kind of or eventually you find out Kingpin's involved. But when the lights go out, they actually make these supervillains fight for money, for basically gambling purposes. And, you know, eventually, like, I don't know, like he's going to have to fight Taskmaster or something, somebody that he just totally couldn't win against. And they have collars taking away their powers or whatever, right? So I like that idea as a pitch. I even had to do paperwork for Marvel and give away and submit all these ideas and never got a response on it. Like they made me do paperwork. They saw the pitch, like, we need you to sign some paperwork. So they basically stole my idea.
Yeah.
And it was that was actually going to be great because it was going to be like Daredevil trying to, you know, because he was framed for murder, trying to solve the case to get him out, you know, of this prison, out of the system before he ends up with the final big whoever boss that he has to fight. And then there was one where I was trying to reinvent Wildcat at DC to be more of like a kickboxing MMA type character. Using like Wildcat Son or something like that. And the only reason that didn't happen is Jeff Johns was doing a lot with JSA and Doomsday Clock. So that took all of those characters off the table, any of the JSA characters. So I got frustrated with that. And, you know, I'd been thinking of a martial art book for years. It all kind of started when I drew Superman, Batman. I drew Batman, but saying this the other day, I drew Batman doing a spinning elbow. And I knew I got it to look right on paper, but I knew it wasn't right. And that's when I got into martial arts. I just wanted to investigate. And I was always obsessed. Why do I always have the same superhero action scenes? It's always
wait, you're saying that you got into martial arts because you had the interest in doing a martial arts book, not the other way around.
I let me see if I can actually find the page. Like, give me 1 minute.
Yeah, sure. We can go through some of the comments here. Let's see. Hey, awesome one. How's it going? Yo. Did it win JLU with Canary?
Yeah, so I'll show you the actual page that bugged me. So in drawing comics at DC Comics, I was like, I really want more action, you know, when I did have a chance to have action. So here's a page of Batman throwing a spinning elbow. And I got it down on the paper fine enough, but it sort of bugged me, like that I didn't understand what I was drawing, you know?
Yeah.
And so I started looking up elbows. And I don't know if YouTube was even like a big thing when I did this. So I started taking a kickboxing class. And from there I basically just got into kickboxing. And if you look at certain books like Superman, Batman, Superman Earth 1, Volume 2. No, well, Volume 1, I have like Superman being punched in the throat by Tyrell, a bad guy in that book. That's a reference to boxing. You gotta keep your chin down. You can't get punched in the throat. And then I think I have like in Superman Earth 1, Volume 2, I think I have Parasite doing a sidekick. So I started just working in these different combat scenarios into the action I was drawing. Because it was like, it's like, oh, I got an action scene. Let me just draw a punch again, right? It seems like, let's make it different. Like if you have 3, 4, or 5 pages of action, you kind of want it to not always seem the same. You know, you want to do something different. And I don't know. I was just stuck in kickboxing for a lot of my life, and then I just kept wanting to put more of that in a comic, except nobody kicks, but maybe Batman. Like, so you're working on DC Comics, and it's like you can't draw Superman doing a kick.
I never really thought about that, but yeah, you're right. They just kind of the ones that can fly, they kind of like fly and throw a punch.
Yeah.
Or just throw someone into a building or out of the way. But yeah, kick.
So that got me trying to pitch books that I could start drawing more martial arts in.
Yeah.
You know, because it just, to me, that was interesting. There are people that are just like, whatever. Because that's what I was getting from DC Comics and other stuff. And I kept bringing up to them, don't you guys have some old martial art characters you could do? And they did. They had a few. Even Chuck Dixon tried doing something. There was some guy named the Dragon or something. They had very few martial art characters besides like Karate Kid and other characters that are on Legion. But they only keep those characters around just so they own the name Karate Kid. For people who don't know, like they have to pay DC Comics for the name Karate Kid. They own that name. That's
I did not know that.
Yeah. There is a Legion superheroes character named Karate Kid. Well, anyway, so parts of those pitches made me start thinking of Rex a lot more. There was another pitch where I had like a city on the edge of oblivion, and like a space station city, like next to a black hole that like it's at the event horizon where it's just stuck. And I liked parts of that pitch of this city, like at the, just they're at the edge of oblivion. How do they cope with that? How do they maintain a society? And parts of that, you'll see in Arc City. So, I mean, I never just sat down and just said, I'm making Inglorious Rex. I've probably been working on it in one way or the other since 2010.
Yeah. It's I kind of owe you a bit of an apology, because when I first heard the concept, when you were pitching Inglorious Rex 1, and you were talking about fighters kind of connecting up with the monsters, I'm like, oh, well, this is just a kaiju version of Pacific Rim. And then when you start to read the book, you do see that it's a different concept. It's a fighter controlling something else, remotely controlling something else, but it was different. It still felt fresh. And I like the idea that, that the Rexes were created from the DNA of the fighter. I think that made it really, unique.
And that concept, it came with the connect. Like, I wanted a pilot and a Rex very compromised. Like, I didn't want just some overpowered, character. I wanted a compromise. I always wanted Alex in a position where the chips are down. He has zero control, and everything, every citizen in Arc City, their life is at stake. And, and that's where, he would be piloting a Rex that's not based off of him. It's based off his late brother, and stuff like that. So it's like, it was never going to be like any type of Robotech or, Evangelion or any type of Gundam or Pacific Rim type scenario, because a lot of Inglorious Rex was always going to end up about, basically family, and that was the heart of it, of the book is family, how would I put it? There's a weight of Alex's turmoil. This is from a reader. He goes, he's connected to 232. This entire book is about connection to family, to the past, to desires, purpose, and to facing the future of one hit at a time. And I always wanted it to be a conflict in the family, and nobody ever talks about Ron in the book, his dad.
Yeah, he kind of gets overlooked, I feel.
Yeah, but he's a big center point in this, in the sense that, he lost one son to Rex fighting. Alex, without his permission, takes this fight with little T. is piloting the last thing he has of his son, which is this Rex, right? Maybe there's some type of sentient in there somewhere. And, it's a fight that basically tore a family apart,
Hmm.
and it will eventually bring them back together. So I never just went out here with the basic concept of monsters beating up one another. I mean,
Right.
that's for sure, but I really wanted this type of family connection, and a family that's, like I said, has been torn apart, and a lot of weight and gravity in that.
Yeah, and I like how in the first Inglorious Rex, everyone's kind of shocked when 232 just starts yelling epic. And then he just, that's kind of his mantra, going through that final fight with Rune. And then, here at the start of book 2, he's still saying epic and everything. And you could tell like he has this, he still has this anger in him, even though he's, just this, he's supposed to be this dumb monster, right? But yeah, you could just see that he's frustrated and angry. And then he can't, or Alex can't hook up with him, connect with him through the
Yeah.
lace suit. And so I thought that was an interesting element to it. And of course, I don't want to give anything away. I know Yanzi was asking that the last 10 pages remain
Yeah.
kind of under wraps until people have a chance.
About the epic thing, though, that goes all the way back to book 1, where Alex gets like knocked out, or him and 2 and 32 get knocked out, or whatever, and he has a flashback with his brother Nate, and he goes, "It takes someone epic to win fights and defend the city." The epic part was planted in 1. I mean but that's kind of more of a glitch.
Oh, interesting.
That's actually more of a glitch of the subconscious of Nate and 232 and Alex, where 232 has caught on to that word.
Hmm.
And again, like, you have to kind of go back and read 1, but there's actually the breakup between 232 and Alex is in book 1 when he refuses to kill Gunn. That's when, I have 232 looking confused and growling, and then he kills Rune. Or Rune, the Rex of Gunn. It's like a lot of this stuff has been planned in the book, and I talked to Yanzi about this a bit. We have a timeline and Bible of events that go back to Nate, that goes back to Anatomic's fighting history,
Hmm.
all of that. Now, we haven't written stories from all that, but whenever we're doing our supplementals or stuff, we have to kind of constantly keep things in a timeline of events that fit our story Bible.
How many issues do you see at least this story arc going?
Well, I mean, you've read 2, so you kind of see I'm really just setting up a really big event in the book to happen. I mean, 2 is like, I think the gem of when it's all said and done. I think 2 is going to be that book where it's like, you're always going to look back at, because that's kind of like the a very important change of events, right? A lot of things start to really become clear to the reader, what's actually going on outside, what's actually going on inside of 232 and things like that. I want to say it's like about 4 books for the main story arc, because you've read the book, so you know everything I've set up and how big it is, right?
Yeah.
The payoff we're looking for, and how crazy the fight will be on the outside now. 3's going to have tons of Rexes running in it, more than I even showed in the book. Because you need some for fodder, of course.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's at least 4. I mean, because I have it kind of worked out, and that's how I see it. And obviously, without spoiling it, Alex is now in probably the biggest fight he's ever had.
Yeah.
Or ever will have. And that's going to dominate 3 a lot. I don't think people really understand. I mean, 3 is going to look like Nate's fight and 232's fight outside, like back and forth. and it's going to feel like a completely different book than 1 and a
Hmm.
completely different book than 2. This is all by design, you know, just like 2 feels different than 1, you know. So 3, you know, is a real big test for 232 and Alex.
Right.
You know, I've totally separated these 2 characters at this point, you know, as they are completely separated, you know, and they have their own battles to fight.
Will we learn more about the history of Arc City and how it came to be um, kind of like this last bastion, with all these monsters outside?
I kind of told people that with the big reveal of you know, the thing that comes out of the ground, but nobody seems to put it together.
You're just on a
Um,
next level.
well, it's like if people look at the design of the character, and I took a character that exists, that's free domain and exists, and I put my own twist on it. But there are features on the character that kind of tell you who he is.
Hmm.
That kind of, you know, that he's spawning the vial. So, there's that. I mean, just saying, some people, I don't know if anybody's figured it out yet.
Well, I sure haven't, but I'm sure somebody out there that is a little bit smarter than I am has probably,
That
uh,
now,
you know,
but that's now the vial though, for the most part, come from up under the ground, right?
Mhm.
So,
Have they always been there?
no, the thing that came out of the ground came from space.
Okay.
But for the most part, the vial live up under the ground, and that's why the terrain looks the buildings are kind of angling because the foundations are coming apart. But
Right.
also they're digging up the ground constantly, and they're nesting and laying eggs. And there's actually a story in supplemental too that where they try to retrieve some stuff from the vial. So
Yeah, I found that Lil T. He was kind of a funny little character in book 1. He kind of just reminded me of a what's his name, a Don King kind of
Don
character.
King is a big, yeah, Don King.
But in this one, he has a bigger part, and you just kind of see just how big his influence is, and I guess kind of how important he is. And it's interesting that money, he has this whole back and forth where he's saying, I don't get why people go after money. It's the power where that's where everything comes from, that you want the
Yeah,
power.
because if he
And
has the power, he already has their pockets, basically. He
right,
already has their
exactly.
money. Yeah, yeah. So, then I kinda sometimes I feel like I owe people a little bit of a explanation for it, not an apology, but an explanation. So in book 1, I really wanted to start off with a basic human fighter, and then from that protagonist with, you know, a simple, like, revenge match against his brother, you kinda understand that. We're gonna walk you into the world of Rex fighting, which you know, and I really wanted to take you there. I mean, if it w book 2 is the book I was looking forward to the most, because that's when I'm the most honest with everybody on, you know, how destitute, you know, the citizen of Arc City are, like, everything that's at stake, you know, things like that, what the real concept of Inglorious Rex is, right?
Mhm.
Well, I didn't wanna jump too far ahead in book 1. Like, I really wanted to set up a protagonist, get you invested in him, use him to introduce you into just the world of Rex fighting. I don't even know in book 3 if we're gonna have a cage fight at all. Like, so that whole concept of these monsters in a laser cage fighting one another with rounds, that's not what Rex 3 is about.
It almost seems like it would be a step back if you did that anyway, with
Well,
the
the
way that
stakes are
2 ends.
completely, yeah, so
Yeah.
now in 3, we're gonna see why, like, how bad the citizens of Arc City need Rexes to be. They need Rexes at their best, right? So, back to your question. So, book 1, I actually the big twist was that the futuristic city that you think it is, it isn't. You know, the ending the book 1 kinda shows you with the pigeon, that there's something really horrible outside, and the outside's very toxic, and that these people are living up under an illusion that they have a beautiful sky up there. They don't. That's a dome.
Yeah.
Like, and a lot of the Inglorious Rex that in book 2 I start dealing with that a little bit, is how much the citizens need to be distracted from everything that's happening outside. That's what's keeping the last remaining people, the last citizens, I guess, or last human, like, it's keeping some sort of a society functioning.
Right. And little T touches on that too.
Yeah.
Talks about how he gives them hope.
Yeah. Well, he sells hope to the hopeless. Like, little T understands, like, we're effed, like we're here. We hope these things never attract to the dome, that they can get into the dome. But let me distract everybody from the threats outside. Let me keep them, like, give them a bit of hope that there's some way that we can get through this, or that you're safe, that you can go buy your groceries, you can go, read to your kid, you can go to work, some sort of functional society happening in Arc City. But the reality is like, and I haven't talked about this in the book, but they're on borrowed time. Like, there's only so many resources because they can't grow.
Right.
Like, they can't grow outward. So population control is an issue. Resources and food are an issue. And depending on what you're reading, because of the supplementals and stuff, I do delve in that there's different, that there's rich people, obviously, that there's very poor people, obviously, and people in between. So
yeah, because you even show the slums and everything.
Yeah.
In book 2. It's interesting.
The slums were actually in book 1 supplemental also. Troy's a character that the whole kids fighting in the alley thing was an Anatomic's origin story in supplemental 1.
I need the supplementals.
Yeah, it's weird. And the supplemental story is all valuable information, but if I put that, it's weird. Like, if I just inject some of this stuff in it, it breaks the flow of the main story. It's and this is where, like, we really built this crazy story Bible, right? So we have all this figured out. We have a timeline of events, even with, like, characters that we're introducing at the end of book 2. So it's like some of the characters that pop up at the end of book 2, like Mace, right? Well, Mace had a story in supplemental 1. Mace had a story where he was a Rex pilot, and Gunn and Rune take him down at the end. Spoilers, but I also make reference to him in Inglorious Rex 1 when Ron's talking to Alex right before his fight, where he says you could end up paralyzed, like the kid, I think his name, Mace.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was wondering about that because I didn't have the supplemental. So when I did get to this point later in the book, I'm like, who is that? Yeah. But I since it is towards the end of the book, I won't.
And then in book 2, and which it doesn't mind, Mace is coming back, but he's paralyzed. He's in a wheelchair, and he's he does have a new Rex. So, and that's also something I haven't talked about in the book. So this is the interesting dynamic of the book that it's really hard to work into the book. But if little T is meant to be the bad guy, yeah. But so if a pilot's Rex gets its head knocked off, well, you can build a new Rex based off that pilot's DNA, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the pilot dies, in the case of Nate in 232, that's it. The Rex is there. 232 was just a sparring Rex for a little bit.
Right. Make it becoming a punching bag, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah. Or they grind them up, decommission them, grind them up, and they use them for Rex food, which is in 2 going to happen with Anatomic's Rex Razor if she doesn't start fighting again.
They only give it to the Rexes. They don't try to slip it to the citizens.
All the food. Well, this is also part of problem with the things like food in Arc City, at least proteins, is they have to feed the Rexes. The Rexes are what's keeping if the dome gets attacked. right? That they have to prioritize things, you know. So Rex is being fed is very important, or that Rex needs to get euthanized and shut down.
Will we see more of Anatomic? I know I kept saying Anatomica during the review. When I went back to edit it, I'm like, for Pete's sake, why do I keep saying Anatomica? But I'm so sorry about that. Will we see more of her relationship with Alex? Will we see them grow? Is there any hope for their romantic relationship, or are they just going to, at this point, be I guess, fighting buddies?
Well, they're definitely going to have to team up in 3. Their whole situation's different when a certain something shows up. So that whole we're against one another and we're actually still fighting, that dynamic actually changes a lot in 3.
Okay.
But Anatomic is now dealing with 232, not Alex. Like, she's in control of Razor, but you know, she's dealing with 232 basically with no pilot. That's going to be an interesting new dynamic. I do have some stuff I'm working on, which is going to be a prequel that actually deals with Anatomic, and it will deal with their relationship in the past. And again, this has to do with the way we wrote a story Bible for this. There's a lot more I want to deal with later on, having to do with like the actual like the Mordoon family. They actually make a reference, like, do you want to go, when she's talking to Troy, he's like, well, you can go back to working for the Mordoon family. You know, there's a big past that she has. For people who don't know, that's Gunn's family. Okay, so I want to deal with the crime part of Arc City, and all of that eventually. So a lot of things are kind of laid out to be explored later on, and I would like to explore the relationship more, because Anatomics is interesting, you know. Like, she obviously, if you read the supplemental from 1, like she just couldn't fight hard enough as a little girl and make enough money for the medicine her dad needed, and so she lost her father. So, you know, fighting is all she has, and she makes reference to that also. That's the only thing she's got. Until she found Alex. But in her way, she feels betrayed by Alex, because Alex interrupted the only thing she had, and that was her fighting career.
Right.
And you know, I have you know, built this wedge between them that, you know, we'll find out, can you know, this fence be mended, so to speak. What feelings are still there between them? I really want to explore that a lot. The destination, even if I could tell you, I wouldn't, because I'd be spoiling it.
How long has she been sparring with Razor? Or not sparring, but, you know, fighting and paired up with Razor?
So the timeline of events is she was in the gym with Alex for a while, and it makes reference that her locker was cleared out in a flashback in this. So the timeline of events is Alex was training as a fighter. Nate was a Rex fighter. Ron was running the gym. Troy, the guy that ran the kid fights, got her introduced to their gym, and they took her on. Nate ratted out the relationship to her dad because Alex was getting distracted. She gets kicked out of the gym. After Nate dies piloting 232, because she's no longer in the gym and stuff, she eventually gets picked up by Little T in a supplemental story, by the way, in volume 2. She does get picked up by Little T to become a Rex fighter. And actually in the supplemental of 2, we show basically her fighting and Little T deciding you fight well enough to be given a Rex. So this was in supplemental 2. So at this point, Alex is won't be trained by Ron. He's given up on Rex fighting. His brother's dead. they're still dating, and he doesn't like the idea of her, because he lost his brother, proceeding to get into Rex fighting, and he's skeptical of Little T. So we have we have a lot of this timeline figured out. It sounds super complicated. That's why we kind of try to tackle some of that stuff in the supplemental stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure.
Because if I put that stuff in the book, it actually interrupts the main flow of the story I'm trying to tell with the book. Like the foundation's all there, the timeline's all there, these events are all there. It's just they're not relevant to the main story we're putting out there. But, the supplementals are, so I try to explore more of the continuity, but at the same time, like in her story, she actually has a mental battle with Razor. So I wanted to show what it's, in here, in this story, we actually explain that, she could die getting laced up with a Rex embryo for the first time. If she can't mentally beat the Rex, her neural system would be fried. She could be a vegetable.
It seems like it's an awesome responsibility to be a Rex fighter. And yet people really, strive to become that. The fighters strive to become that. Sorry, got distracted by this.
Shane's
whatever.
Like Anna. Oh my God. Douglas.
Oh Lord, it's not true. But yeah, it almost seems like a double-edged sword, because yes, you get the glory and everything if you win in these fights, but you have this awesome responsibility of, when the time comes, you have to protect the city from the vile outside.
And that was the weird part, right? In book 1 is I kind of had to hide that until the very end, that information dropped. So before that, you're reading book 1 and it's like, this is all about prize fighting.
Right.
And so I want to explain that part of that. There's two, I've traveled the world quite a bit, and that's a bit of the influence from, the gladiator arenas of Rome, like gladiator fights and how the citizens were kind of distracted or entertained by them. Right.
Bread and circus.
And even when I went to Rome, and you go into the Colosseum. I mean, it's crazy to see how big this is, and they say like every road leads to the Colosseum. But I mean, there's like seats and stones where fans would sit there and just scrape in the gladiator that was their favorite. Like etch into stone and carve out their favorite gladiator. I mean, so that always stuck with me. But then I also spent some time in Thailand. And one of the weeks I was there was a Buddhist holiday, and they had one of the days on the weekend they weren't having a fight. Because of multiple stadiums in Bangkok, they may have fights like something like 5-6 days a week or something.
Oh wow.
And you could walk down the street and see the poorest people in the rattiest street with cables and cords hanging down. They were rolling out a TV on on the sidewalk, and they're just hunched over it watching the Thai fight. 5 or 6 people. I mean, these people live a very, very poor life where this isn't talked about a lot, but even children start training for Thai fights to feed their family at the ages of 8 or something. Damn. Competitively. So I had a handler, and I was able to go to Thai fights, not just in the audience where you see people when they're televising it. I was able to go on the other side that the camera doesn't show, and that's behind a chain link fence, and it's the gambling part. I couldn't gamble, but my handler could make the bets for me. And I started to notice how much the citizens, the people of Bangkok were, and how the gambling was happening. Like it was like the stock market where like the odds changed in between rounds, not just, like one bet. It's like I could bet and bet more in between rounds, and even bet on both fighters different amounts. So either
like
way,
deer hunter or whatever.
Dude, it was crazy. And, and this is where it got super crazy. So I thought the last fight happened. The cameras are coming down off the cranes. Everybody's leaving. My handler just puts his hand over my chest, said, "You still want to stay?" I'm like, Yeah, but for what? He's like, just sit down. Here comes the shortest Thai guys I've ever seen. Right? They come into the ring,
The little
but they're not,
tease.
no, but they're not guys. They're like teenagers.
Oh crap.
The camera's shut off. The world can't see this. Some people are still there. The kid drops his robe. There is a tattoo down his back, a mural. It's like it's a different world, but the fighting. There are statues of Thai fighters and stuff. I mean, it's a part of their culture. That's it. I mean, people were mad about a Buddhist holiday shutting down a Thai fight
Yeah.
because they were lacking that entertainment. I mean, that is their distraction from their life of poverty. You know, Epstein, Thailand. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, that's what I thought you were going to tell me.
No. But it's like, and I really was amazed with the idea of a society so hooked into a sport, a combat sport, even. And this
That's
goes
their hope, right?
2 different places in the world, 2 different times, completely dialed into combat sports to get through their week.
Mm.
And that's a lot of the influence for this book and Arc City. I started putting that together with actually protecting the city. It just gelled. You know,
I like that you can pull from your own personal experiences and kind of, weave that into your stories. That's always nice when you can, do that as a creator and pull from your own experience.
So Inglorious Rex 3, because we have a lot of those supplementals already done and stuff, and we're going to start, if you guys sign up for the newsletter, we're going to start announcing those weeks up.
Yes, let me bring that up here. I would like to.
But we have one story in there that's about a degenerate gambler that he basically wins his history of winning and losing betting on 232, and it's the best thing we've ever written.
No way.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful story. It's ups and downs in his personal life, and it's I'm not going to say who drew it yet, but it's hands down the best thing we ever wrote. And it had, and it's all through the eyes of just a citizen of Arc City. And it's stuff like that that's so great. And it makes the concept, it makes the world feel like it's got a strong foundation. You know what I mean? It's like it's a different place. It's like there's all these layers to this. It's what do the citizens see? Because that's what these guys fight for the citizens, and the hope that they give them. All of this, it all gels together just so great. And I'd like to say, hey, I just pulled these things out of thin air, but it's like, no, I really dug into, how things work in this country with kickboxing and what it means to the citizens there, what it meant to people in Rome, to watch gladiators fight. I'm pulling references, and really trying to put them into my world. There we go.
What does this pop up here?
Mm-hmm.
That is weird. Oh, here we go. Let me get rid of this.
Yep.
Okay.
So you guys can go sign up on Indiegogo, or you can sign up on 9livescomics.com. It doesn't really matter which one you sign up on. But if you sign up on 9livescomics.com, you will have access to the secret tiers on Indiegogo. I can send you to Indiegogo, but I can't take your information from Indiegogo and send you to my site.
Okay, so 9 Lives is the one that we really want to.
It'll cover you on both bases if you sign up there. If you sign up here, you're only going to get the secret tiers on Indiegogo.
Here, I'll get you, Jeremy. Thank you. Because I need some helping hands here. Okay. Do that, and kapow. All right. Yeah, Jeremy, if you could go ahead and be kind enough to put that link up there, I would really appreciate that. So yeah, I got to get signed up on that for that one too, because I signed up on the Indiegogo page, but I don't want to miss out on anything. I've already missed out on 2 of the supplementals because I'm an idiot.
Well, I'll hook you up with I'll figure it out. I'll hook you up with them. Other than that, like where we're going in the book, and especially in 3, is it's more about what these things were bred and built to do, and which is protecting the city, at all costs. As obviously they have a big threat outside, and Alex has a big threat inside.
Yeah, that's kind of a heavy thought to just, you're trying to go about your day to day and, knowing that all of that is going on outside. And I almost wonder, like, what's stopping these vile from just busting in, like, hello, we're here.
I don't know if I'll ever, it's kind of hinted at with Little T, but see, Little T is nothing without a society, like he has no power. He has, like it's really important to him that there is some type of a functioning society just so he can be the one in charge of it.
Yeah. Oh, we got a super chat here from Flady1 for $4.99. Thank you so much, Flady. Isn't CG an analogy for the arena fights? Each book released is a gauntlet thrown, upping the perfection of story and art, and we eat it up. Devil and horns. Yeah, I guess in a way it is kind of like that, right? You're telling the mainstream, like, okay, you're putting out your stuff. This is our stuff. Bam, we're going to set the standard of, how things should be.
It's weird. Heroes kind of had a lot of guys coming up to me to sign either covers I did at Marvel or books I did at DC, right? Because I mainly drew for DC Comics, but I did a lot of Marvel covers also. And some of these covers are like Wolverine covers and normal DC stuff. I mean, I've had Spider-Man stuff, superhero stuff, Savage, Venom covers, things like that. I've drawn a bit of everything. And I would show them. I'd be like, "Hey, I'm crowdfunding," and they're like, "Oh yeah." And I'm like, "And here are my books here that you can flip through if you want, and we have them for sale." And they would hesitate to pick them up, but the minute they picked them up, they were just shocked and buying them.
Wow.
I do believe the work I'm doing right now is the best work I've done in my entire career. I was talking to David Finch, and we were like, "Oh, hi, how are you?" Because we knew each other. I'd worked with his wife on some stuff at DC, which was a nightmare election project that the script kept changing by DC's orders because they were trying to date the 2016 elections. And while we were working on it, the Hillary Clinton email leaks and stuff like that, and they kept trying to work it in. And that
fun times.
that book barely made it to the printer because there were so many things redone in it because they were trying to balance it out between Trump's a bad guy and Hillary's the bad guy. And the whole moral of the story is both politicians were bad guys, but Dan kept wanting to work in real world news that was spilling out as we were doing it. And we just could not do that book barely. I'm talking baseball slide to the printer. But a lot of people like love this stuff that bought my other stuff. And it's the best work I've ever done, so far. And what's great about Inglorious Rex is I do believe flipping through it, like actually 2 is a lot better than 1.
I have to agree with you. When I read the first one, and I think this is, it's kind of hard to help this, but by the very nature of the first issues of books, it's really hard to get everything that you want in there, and you pack what you can, but sometimes, there are elements you have to leave out. And sometimes it just doesn't feel, that's what I want to say. Like you read the story, you have the setup, but somehow you don't feel satisfied because by the end of it, you're like, okay, I got this far, but now, I want more. But I definitely, when I got done with, I went back and read issue 1 when issue 2 arrived. And then when I read issue 2, I was just like, dang it. Like, yeah. Issue 3 now, please.
Well, and issue, and again, like, I'm not trying to talk about that, but like everything's by design. And that's like I feel like that was the big crime I had to commit, or the big sin I had to commit against 1 is hiding and working at building 2. Like there's so many scenarios or seeds I planted in 1 for 2. And one of the things I never talk about this, and the duality of all the characters, right? That is by design. You know, we'll take Ron, right? He's a trainer, right? He's a corner man, right? In the arenas and in the ring, right? With Alex and 232. But Ron when 232 has to go outside, he becomes an intel person.
Yeah, right. Because he still has that earpiece, talking
So
to
he's
Alex.
telling him like, "Hey, stop fighting Razor. Vile are coming. We're getting, or like Roy with Anatomic, he starts telling her that there's tremors happening, in the city. What's happening? Let me patch you into Little T. Like they that's just that one example. Little T, on the other hand, he's a fight promoter, but he's also like a mastermind manipulator of the citizens of Arc City. Which, so I have like the Don King fight promoter type.
What's
Yeah,
his end game? I mean, other than power, okay. If everything just all crumbles and falls and goes to hell, like, what does it matter if he's just the king of rubble,
Well, that's why he has to keep some sort of society functioning and some sort of confidence that everybody can go to sleep at night and wake up in the morning and do what they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because without that, he has nothing.
Right.
So it's more like not what his end goal is. It's what he's afraid of not having anymore. And that is absolute power over the citizens of Arc City, because he provides them the only hope for survival, and that's Rex's.
Yeah.
So it's as his whole thing is about maintaining power. And, again, we have ties with the Mordone family that we want to explore later on between Little T. Like, why does he always favor Gun? And you would get that if you had the supplemental for one. A lot of people that have that will understand that reference. But I want to explore that later on down the road. I don't know if it'll actually be in 3. But we do want to explore that. Like, we have that figured out. There is a reason that he keeps favoring him. We have stuff planned. I mean, next year is going to be a giant year for us in Inglorious Rex. Not just with Inglorious Rex 3, but some other stuff we haven't announced. So, it's. I mean, I like to say, with this property, my goals are. People are like, "How high are you going with this?" I'm like, I point at the sky. I'm like, there, as high as we can go. That's my goals. I mean, I love this property. I do. I have a lot invested in it. I don't think I've ever in my entire life put so much into a comic, or a comic's ever meant so much to me. And I know, like, I want to talk about that for a minute. A lot of times we get people really getting into the weeds and like, oh, it's not about the books. You're not talking about this. You're not talking about that. I might not talk about making a comic, but I don't need to. I just need to give you a great comic.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, tonight I appreciate your passion and giving us insight to, your thought process when you're crafting the world of Inglorious Rex,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, but back when I was getting into comics and I was having to shop my portfolio around, you got some coaching from other artists. And I was, at the Joe Kubert School. They would kind of talk to us about it. You kind of want your best artwork up front and at the end of the portfolio, front, middle, and end. The more pieces you put into it, you need about 4 to 6 pieces. The more you put into it, the more chances there are, if you go beyond that they'll find something they don't like to disqualify you. And this was a different time in the industry where everything was about meritocracy, how well you could draw. I mean, that's it. You got
the good times.
Didn't matter what color you are, what sex you are, what's your sexual preference. None of that mattered. It mattered about what you put on paper. And one of the things in it is when you slide that portfolio in front of the editor, you shut up. Let the work speak for itself. Now I have to go pitch my stuff and stuff like that. But, I'm not going to sit here and try to convince people online and overcompensate, for, I don't need to. My work is that good. I know how to make a comic. I've done it for over 20 years.
Hmm.
I learned a lot. I continue to get better. I just need to present you guys with a book that you'll enjoy and you'll have fun with. I'm not going to go out here and try to convince you I'm better at what I do than I am, because that's a lie.
How hard is it? I heard you mention the other day that when you were doing reprints and you go back, it's kind of hard for you to not, fix things or improve things. And it seemed like for you that it's hard to finally let go of your baby, like the project in your mind could always be tweaked a little bit more and improved on slightly more. As an artist, how do you deal with that? How do you finally go, okay, this is okay. This is ready to go out there.
So one time, I had that issue. I had Joe Kubert for a teacher for 1 year, but I would bug the hell out of him as a student for that 1 year. And I mean, sometimes I was sitting at the steps of Joe Kubert school waiting for them to open the door just so I could get to my desk and start drawing. Now the truth of that is I stayed up all night and I didn't want to fall asleep. So, it was kind of one of those scenarios. But I would also bug him about after school if he could look at stuff and give me more of a criticism of things so I could, better it for the turn in. And I worked for him for a few years after that with the PS Magazine stuff. And he would look over layouts and stuff I was doing when I was doing some of my first gigs for DC Comics and stuff. And having Joe as a teacher and working for Joe or talking to Joe outside of the classroom is a different Joe. He was a little bit more brutal, and I appreciated that. And I even told him I did, and he said, "I'm glad to hear that because some people aren't appreciative of criticism."
Right. We've seen that, right?
No, basically, he told me that. And, I always fought to be better and do better and draw better. What a nerd, says Wooden Shot. So, I mean, one of the things Joe said, back to your question, was I go, well, I can fix that. Let me just go home and fix that. But he said, hey, this over here should be bigger or something. He's like, he grabbed my arm. He said, no, don't. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Now I know how to fix it. He's like, there's always the other page. Move forward, not backwards. Now, you want to make a book within your time restraints or restrictions as great as you can. And there's actually a panel, and I'm not going to say which one in Inglorious Rex 1 that I completely redrew. It was done. I was like, I don't like the way it looks. So I went in and I redrew it again. And guess what? It looked about the same. It was embarrassing that I just couldn't make that one panel better. Now with 2, I'm drawing things better than I did in 1. And I hope to do the same in 3. Every day I have to remind myself I'm only getting better with every book I draw.
Do you do exercises every morning to kind of, I guess, get yourself warmed up?
No. A lot of people draw and stream or do sketches and stuff like that. When I first went to the Kubert school, I kind of swore off that stuff. When I first went to the Kubert school, one of the kids won the last Marvel scholarship that Marvel ever issued for the Kubert school. This kid had a killer portfolio, and this was around when episode 1 had came out. So he had this awesome Darth Maul in there and stuff like that. Kind of telling people how old I am at this point. And the kid basically would get a hold of Ritalin and just do Ritalin and never went to school and stay in and do these awesome sketches and be high off his rocker. And he just had a sketchbook and he would never do his assignment. And he was out within I think 3 months.
Jeez.
Because they kicked him out because he just wasn't doing things. Other students in the school continued to spend most of their time in their sketchbook and not their assignments. Their sketches and their sketchbooks would look phenomenal. Their assignments they were turning in looked like shit. And we all had to grade our artwork at the end of class. We had to put it up on the board and we all had to stand around and have criticism.
That's brutal, huh?
Yeah, no, it's brutal. That's why this whole thing, you can't take criticism stuff, to me, is insane.
Yeah.
Insane. And I'll tell you why in a minute. Let me stick to this point. Sketches can rob you of producing good work. Because your time is now split between the sketch and the product that you're selling. Why not take the time from the sketch and put in a product you're selling? Don't your customers deserve that? Not some sketch that they can't buy? Like, I mean, they're buying my book. They're not buying my sketches. Does that make sense? Why would I split my time up like that?
Right.
If I'm selling you a comic, I'm putting every hour I can manifest into that page. Now, it's different with crowdfunding because I have to do streaming, I have to do this. That's my philosophy. I'm not saying that's the rule of the land or anything.
Right, but that's what works for you.
But that's how I treat it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I've also seen tons of art students have beautiful sketchbooks and shit assignments that they're turning in. And, you know, like, that's great. You got that awesome sketch in your sketchbook, but that wasn't what people were asking for. They were asking for these 4 pages over here for the assignment. So about the criticism stuff, there's 2 types of artists. I was taught this right away in school, and I believe it, and it sticks with me to this day. I could be a fine artist, and I could do a painting, and it's not really for money. I put it up on the wall. People see it. They maybe see what I feel, whatever. Maybe they offer to buy it, but you know, whatever they think, it doesn't really matter because
Like
I didn't
a hobbyist.
money. Yeah, I didn't do it for money, right?
Right.
I do a comic. That comic's got a price tag on it. Whoever bought it can criticize the hell out of it.
They paid for that, right?
You just have to take it or ignore it. Maybe grow from it. Now, with that said, not every criticism's valid. That's the hard part, is seeing faults, and maybe the worst people that hate you actually have something to say that's a valid use. Maybe they don't. Maybe it's just somebody trolling you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I dealt with online criticism because message boards on user ramen stuff were a thing. Like this, everybody getting their nose twisted up over criticism. It's like, dude, comics has always been like that.
Yeah. Well, art has always been like that,
Yeah.
I would think.
No, the ultimate criticism before the internet is people just wouldn't buy your book.
Yeah.
You had the lowest selling comic. You know, I mean, so like all of this isn't new, but there are a lot of people new to comics that don't understand the history of you're selling a product. Criticism is valid. It comes. That's it. You put a price tag on it. That's on you. You don't want criticism, don't charge for it.
Put it up over grandma's mantle or something like that. Shane gonna critique your critique.
Yeah. I'm most likely you don't see me respond to critiques.
Yeah, maybe not in words, but if it is, you know, something that you take to heart and you see as valid, then it will be reflected in your work. Shall we go over your site a little bit, Nine Lives Comics? Is there anything that you would like to point people there? Because I know you have Extend is it's
Which
still
we're gonna have to pull down in like a week or 2. So
right. I was gonna mention that.
Yeah, because we're getting that book ready for print. It's at $121,227. So this
Damn.
has like basically I'm remastering it. It's all new inks, all new colors, new lettering. I'm rewriting some things, and there are some changes in pages. A lot of places it's really difficult because I draw a lot better now, and I'm going in and touching some stuff up, but I'm also trying not to make it, even though I'm making it different, I'm not trying to update it with the way I draw now, because if I really dug into it, I'd redraw the whole thing.
Right.
So it's kind of a weird project in a way. There are 2 books in this campaign. Well, 3 technically with the artist Shane Davis book that you can buy. is there's Extend Level Up, which is the remastered version with a new page, and I'm redoing some heads and stuff in it like that. And then there's Respawn. Respawn is the one that's drawn by Anthony Gonzalez Clark, Kelsey Shannon, Donald DeLay, and Monica from Monster MD and Terror in the Trenches. So
Yeah, I love her style.
yeah, that's a whole new story. So definitely check that out. Even if you've had the old Extend stuff, I definitely would direct you to this. This is more of a prequel story about where they, instead of fighting one another, the main three characters, they actually have to team up to fight other players in the game besides them. Extend, for people who don't know, it's about 3 random video game players that are chosen to beta test this new online world game. And when they go in, they basically have to beat the shit out of one another, all of this stuff. And they exit the game with obviously one high player being the winner. Ruin. When they come out into the real world, they do activate as their avatars, all their special abilities, all that snaz. And then the problem with that is the one guy that beat their ass in the game is going to activate in the real world. They don't know how to get back in the game, and they know he's just going to come after them and kill them there. They couldn't stop him in the game. They're not going to be able to stop him in the real world, and they're a race against time trying to keep him from activating. So it's kind of like a reverse Tron.
Mm-hmm.
It does have superhero type attitudes or cosmetics, I guess, or aesthetics, like the main character, Morn, actually is. I'm a big fan of Nightcrawler, so I started working in portals with him, even though it's different from teleporting. But the concept of portals, he has to be able to focus on two portals, to
Is that this guy here?
Yeah. So he has to be able to understand where he, obviously where he's at, but where he wants to be.
I just wanted to show the butt again.
Yeah, the butt. You got to get that butt. Rain's pretty cool. That's the pink chick with the blades. She's able to slow down time with her chain of rain as long as she does consecutive attacks. She's able to basically freeze time as long as she's in motion and attacking. If you do like a combo breaker or something, and it stops.
I like the concept of this with the different games. So you have the different play styles.
The street fighting, yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. And then a little bit of kart racing here.
The Mario Kart, yeah, the racing game. That is direct like throwback to Mario Kart. It's a fun thing Donald did there. And then this would be more of like a loot crate shooter type thing, like PUBG or Fortnite.
Yeah. I'm excited for this one.
Royale type thing. Yeah, that book is actually really cool. A lot of this artwork is done on the whole campaign at this point, and we're just getting ready to get it finalized to go off to lettering and then pre-press, and we've already talked to the printer and got some quotes. So
very
right
nice.
now it's off my table how long it takes to get printed and stuff. A lot of things got messed up with my arm injury and threw both campaigns off. Like both campaigns were being worked on before my injury, and for people who don't know, I tore my bicep.
Yeah. Oof.
And actually drew for 3 weeks with it detached. And then because it took that long to get an operation scheduled because of the holidays. So after the operation, I still went back to work. I had the doctor to turn my hand in a way that I could still hold a pencil. And
that's dedication right there.
but it did kind of throw both campaigns off the track with getting to their initial fulfillment dates. So, but rest assured, the artwork is off my table at this point. Like it's now about just getting the production done on this book and whatever turnaround time the printer has.
Any indication as to the turnaround on the queue, the turnaround time?
It depends on who's ahead of me on that. Like I haven't, until I actually submit the print files, like we had the pre-press done, I won't know. Like that's the unfortunate part. Like it's whoever. I'm not in queue to be printed yet. I have to get the pre-press done and the lettering done.
Gotcha.
So
When you get that notification and you kind of have that timeline in mind, how long do you think you'll have until you finally close down the campaign?
I'm closing down the campaign before we go to print. Like,
Okay.
so I'm probably closing it down in like a week or two. Like, we got to pick a date and close it down. So that's our
Awesome.
goal. Like, is in a week or two, this campaign comes down. It's 121,227. I do there. If you're new to Nine Lives Comics, there is a pack in here that will get you Inglorious Rex 1, Inglorious Rex 2, Extend, Respawn, and Starlight Cats. So
Is
that's
that one of the perks here?
yeah. Just scroll down a little bit more. You'll see it
This one here?
there. Yep.
Okay.
And you guys can still buy some CGC copies on this campaign of, I think, let me just look real quick, of Extend, but I think you can still get CGC copies of, let me make sure. Yanzi maybe took them down. Yanzi took them down.
She's on it.
No, she sent in the CGC stuff from this campaign already with Rex 2, so that's why you can't buy it anymore. You can get
gotcha.
Extend CGC'd. But let me just look. Is it in the add-ons? I want to make sure. No. Okay.
Jimmy.
In add-ons, if in the add-ons you can get Inglorious Rex 2 still CGC'd for $100, Inglorious Rex 1 for $100, and Starlight Cats 1 for $100. These are good prices because these some of the books are like $40 books if you bought them on CGC.
Yeah.
So, and now if you want a high grade and stuff like that, we promise nothing lower than a 9.6. Moromi from the chat has a 9.9 on the
Jesus.
1. We've been getting high numbers on our CGC. Yanzi goes through the books that we send in, like with a fine tooth comb, like a microscope, and we have gotten 10s. We have gotten 10s on a few books. So but Moromi did get a 9.9. Most people are getting 9.8s. You're at least guaranteed a 9.6. And if you look, they're in the add-ons. It looks like if you go on our site and you can still buy those. So if you and the beautiful thing about Nine Lives Comics site is we do have a shop. That stuff goes out tomorrow. We are eventually going to put up some Inglorious Rex 2 up here on the site. Will be marked up for the backers get it the cheapest on some. We will try to keep a $25 issue there. We have merch, stuff like that, and as you can see, it's marked up from the original campaign, so it's better to back the merch on the
right when it's on that's what I did. That's why I snatched this shirt up. There was no way I was going to miss that.
Yeah. Definitely always buy the merch on our campaign. We don't produce a lot of extra. We are going to try to produce more Nine Lives Comics hats because people really like those. But in the next campaign, so you guys can look forward to that coming up. And again, just the site's great. If you've already backed on Nine Lives Comics in the campaign, you can actually come back in the add-ons and add to your already existing order. We did want to do something a little bit more convenient for people than Indiegogo. Like, you have to back again on Indiegogo. So if you already backed Extend and you're like, well, I want to add something else onto it, you can just log in. You should be able to just go to straight add-ons, add to your already existing order, and it will recalculate your shipping so you don't pay double shipping.
Nice. Yeah, that's fair. I like that that's an option.
Let me talk about our other
sure.
hang on. Let me talk about our other great thing that we did with our site, our referral program, right? So you're able to go in and make an account, and you'll get a referral, a special link. Henry Bemis took advantage of this. Henry Bemis has gotten Davis dollars.
Ooh, Davis bucks
off the site. Because we basically, on our referral program, every time you get a sell with a Nine Lives Comics link, you actually get the percentage I would give Indiegogo as a credit that then you can spend on our shop or you can spend on our future campaigns.
That's fair because they take like what, 30%?
Yeah, so like I think Henry Bemis is our number one referral, and I think he's basically just bought stuff straight out with his points. Now we issue the points, I think, quarterly. So it won't show up automatically 4 times a year. We'll go in and give you and combine your points and issue you the credit in the store to be. And you can use it on our site. It's not going to be good anywhere else.
Yeah, but still, any type of discount, I'm always down for that. Let's see, $5 from Michael Deutsch.
That's $5.
$5, make it holla. Sorry. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Shout out to Woden Shot for his contributions to the community and all of his help with Shane's campaigns. What would you do without Woden Shot, Shane?
Live a happier life.
Aw. Yeah, he knows how to cut to the core of your heart there, Shane.
You cut a man's spirit, he bleeds all the same.
It took advantage. He doesn't let anything slip. He's on it.
Sometimes I think he's the best and worst of us.
Yeah, I could see that. Deetcha. But you have been so gracious tonight. Thank you so much, Shane. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day. I know you have to balance streaming and your family life, and also, finishing these books and everything for the campaigns. I really appreciate it. And I encourage everybody, please go check out Extend before it closes out. Really cool concept, people bringing the game world out, like Shane was saying, Tron in reverse. And then also, too, sign up for Inglorious Rex 3. And as Shane was mentioning, sign up. God, I'm getting tongue-tied. Sign up on the 9 Live site so you can go ahead and get the special secret perk you were saying, right?
Yeah. One of the things I want to announce, which, you know what? All right, here we go. Here's some you want to see some artwork?
Yeah, please.
Inglorious Rex.
Goods.
Yeah. You're using something different than StreamYard, so.
Yes, I am. On the bottom, it has like a little, I think on your screen, you should see the same thing. It looks like a computer monitor where it says share, and then you click the little triangle. Yep, I hear you now.
All right. So this is, this is a character that appeared at the end of Inglorious Rex 2, Terror, which is obviously a reference to Terry. So this will be a story. Terror is the first flying Rex, and she's going to be very important in 3 and 4.
Is this the first time you're showing this?
Yes, this is drawn by Chris Graves. So this is one of the I want to give you an exclusive.
Oh, thank you so much. Bam. You see it here first, folks.
Yeah. So this is drawn by Chris Graves. And this is actually, we've hired there's 3 stories besides my own. So 4 stories total in Inglorious Rex 3. There's going to be my main book. Then there's a book called 232 Beast Mode, which we are going to start showing artwork if you're signed up and announcing. Then there is the Gambler story I was talking about, which is really super cool. And that art is beautiful. All of that's completely done. All of 232 Beast Mode, by the way, is completely done. And what's the 4th? That's all 4. That's all 4. So this is the Terror story, her origin story, and how it ties into Razor. So this again is kind of going back, like I said, in the timeline of things, explaining what happened previously before Inglorious Rex 1, but it obviously is about a character that's in Inglorious Rex 2 and Inglorious Rex 3 and so on. So yeah, Chris is knocking it out of the park. I think he only has a few pages left, and then that story's done. We have so much done in Inglorious Rex 3.
That's awesome. And I like the little tribute to little Terry there. Very nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. There was a couple things I wanted to ask you, because I really, really love the Shane, the shirt. Yeah. Are we gonna be able to get any more cool gear like that? Because I would really love to see more shirts. I love merch. I love stuff like that. So
all right, you're killing me here, Smalls. Here, I haven't went over this. Let me see. I even find it. Yeah. All right, give me a second. So I haven't went over this exactly. Hats. Let me type hats if I can find it. Yeah. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. I got it. This is a new computer, so I don't have these files downloaded.
Oh yeah, no worries.
Okay. So I have to put up a poll for some of these items. Now I'm going to do a normal 9 Lives Comics hat. So what you're going to see, there's just no way I'm doing all of this. Okay. But
just a taste.
Yeah. So we have the Mange of America hat here.
Oh yes, let me show you.
And this is based off of some AI artwork that somebody made up. So you can see the America hat over here. So
it looks so retro. I love it. My dad had something like that back in like 1987. I'm telling you.
They're asking me what's the ending of Inglorious Rex. I'm not going to tell you. Then there's just Mange. So I don't know. Then this was AI artwork. So we're thinking of this tiger hat here.
Yeah. With your mug there.
Then there's this one. Or just the
it looks like something you get at a Grooving Man store in the mall.
And then
that I like.
Yeah,
I would totally wear.
I like I would wear. Yeah, and then there, you can see where this goes. And here's the John Malin. This is old.
Oh my God!
I'm not doing these.
You got to make an adult onesie, like a tiger adult onesie or something.
I do like this tiger hat though. I might take the tiger head out and just put a 9 Lives logo in.
Yeah. Or maybe how about like claw marks or something?
Yeah. So we're working around some stuff. I may run a poll with these hats, and if I get them where I want them, and say, okay, we're gonna have one in the campaign, guys. Have at it. Which one is it?
Only one? Don't make me choose.
Yeah. I think I've done that before though. I think I've put up some merch and said, you guys pick what hat goes where. I don't know. We're playing around with stuff. But there will be a mange something, we will accommodate.
I like that you're, branching out more into the merch. I really appreciate it because it's nice to go out there, especially something like this where it's so unique and people will stop you and say, what the heck is that? What's with that dude going, ah? So, it's a conversation starter and I could find out, hey, are you into comics? And, maybe drive them over to your 9 Lives site and Mange in the Manger. How about, because I saw one of the panels in Inglorious Rex, a little girl was holding a Rex 232 plushie. Could we ever get a 232 plushie?
No, I don't.
Damn it.
I don't know. It's like a lot. I actually had meetings with a lot of action figure guys at Heroes. And they were talking to me about toys and stuff. I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that because I can get the toys made. It's just the holding and distribution of it. But an idea of a 232 action figure sounds great. I just don't. The logistics of it seem like out of our reach. Like you have to understand, we're a small mom and pop business running it out of our garage. It's like the bigger the items are, it becomes very complicated. The hats, the t-shirts, they kind of stack or fold tight in a box, so they're not too much of a problem. Like you're able to get a lot of product in a box, one single box. This other stuff, it becomes completely different.
Here, I was going to show you something real quick, if you don't mind, for just 1 second here. Let me stop that. All right, there we go. So what I was kind of thinking was something like, let me add my other camera again, was something like Nasser Rabati's, Monster Pizza from Creepsters. He has just these like little, they're made by a company called Super Asia Fun Toy. And, they're not the highest quality in the world, but it's fun. And I was just thinking like something along the lines of that. He even did, let's let's see, the little creepsters. What the hell is the opening to this? Jesus. There we go. Maybe. Okay. This is his little chomper toy. And I'm trying to think how much I paid for it. Maybe like $30, $40, which, I mean, obviously it's overpriced for what it is, but it's because you're producing in a smaller quantity. But I thought these were really cute. And of course, being a girl, I kind of gravitate towards stuff like this. But I could just totally see a cutesy little 232 something.
Yeah. I kind of want to, and I knew when I drew that in, somebody was going to ask for it, but I did not draw it in to be asked for.
Yeah, it was a trap.
That little girl is referenced to a little girl in like in the supplemental. Like she's referenced, and the fact that she likes 232 a lot is referenced in the supplemental. So there's a reason she's holding the doll. Like I didn't just put the product in there. I would like to do something like that. I'm just not sure how many people want a 232 stuffed animal. That's the thing, right?
Maybe a poll. Do a poll. Show them your poll.
Yeah, well, I might. I mean, I'm not against it, and finding actually companies that make stuffed animals that's a lot easier than action figures. There's a lot more of those, and there's less damages with the action figures, right? Because you can drop a box of those, or they get crunched, and they're just gonna squish in. They're not gonna break. So to me, I would rather do that. Just the convenience that there will be no broken product. I don't know. It's something I got to talk to Yanzi about. I don't think it would make it into that campaign, and even if it did, it'd be at a later date. I think the turnaround time on that stuff is a little quicker too, but we have no plans in the immediate future to do it. Like, I'm against it. We just have no plans right now of actually doing it.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, the margins have to be pretty razor thin too. And obviously, if you're going to put the time and effort into it, you want to get some sort of return on your investment.
Yeah, I think it's a lot less, though, believe it or not. I think it's a lot less than action figures. The action figure, you have to go through tooling and stuff like that, and making sure the brakes in the figure and the joints, all of that line up, and that's a completely paint test. I think you avoid a lot of that with the stuffed animals. It's probably a hell of a lot easier to do a stuffed animal, to be honest. We're right now focused on our books. I've had action figures made at DC Direct. I've had statues made of stuff. McFarlane just made a Doomsday figure based off of my run as Superman, Batman. Kryptonite Doomsday. And that's a character I developed, at DC.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, it's like I'm well aware. I don't know. I guess I'm just more interested in action figure stuff than stuffed animal stuff, to be honest. But
I can see it. It's gonna interest more people. I mean, to be fair, than plushies and stuff like that. That was just kind of like a pipe dream I had. Kind of snuggling up to a little 232.
We talked about it, but I don't know when and we have clearance to do it because we're so high, maybe too focused on books right now. Between Extend and Inglorious Rex 2 and then launching Inglorious Rex 3, and then we already have an unannounced project that we've been working on for as we were finishing up Inglorious Rex 2.
Yeah.
We just have like so many books happening right now, and I don't know, like it seems like for me, working on the book and YouTubing, it's really hard to do more than 2 campaigns a year. Like,
I can hear you, but I mean, even that as a fan and backer, you get so many of these campaigns, and you're really trying to stretch your buck too. And sometimes you have to pick and choose what you want to back. Let me get this super chat here real quick from Travis Perrick for $2. Thank you so much, Travis. I'm sure PTP will make a knockoff of your toys. Well, yeah, we've kind of seen he has a history of that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
With his Ninja Turtles and all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, perhaps.
I'm not against getting. I'm not against. I will say this. in response to that, I'm not against getting litigious.
Yeah.
And in the case with Starlight Cats, I'm going to say what I can say.
Mm-hmm.
And a certain Disney show is
Yep.
they were approached, and it turned out I had to deal with Disney and Sony. And all I can say is season 2 was delayed, and when they came back, they had sidekick characters and boosters to make them shoot up in the air, and they basically started changing them.
Yeah, I was going by the dentist office a couple months ago, and they had, I don't know why, that particular program that you're talking about. I don't even want to give them any credit, so I won't mention their name, but the ripoff of Starlight Cats. And I was just kind of blown away. I'm like, really? The kind of the gall, that they have. But I guess that happens a lot. Artists getting ripped off.
And the whole thing's interesting because after we had to deal with them, they started changing it. Like they started, like I said, giving them sidekick robotic animals like a flying pig and stuff.
Yeah.
And different like robotic parts, like to make them shoot into the air rather than just fly. Like they just started mauling their own which is, if it was their property or mine, they just started trying to manipulate it into not being like mine.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know. It's a crazy world. And the thing is, with these big corporations, if somebody, a creator doesn't have a lawyer or like a big kind of war chest backing them up, I mean, what do you do? They can just keep dragging the process along and bleeding your coffers dry. So it's
yeah, no, it is, but in the end, like it can, they weren't pleasant to deal with, but in the end, they did start changing it. So,
F in the chat has actually figured out the entire secret behind Inglorious Rex. He says that Disney has become vile. So they really are. Disney has become this big behemoth, and they are the enemy. They are the creature in Inglorious Rex that is destroying everything. I mean, I should have seen it. It kind of had hints of Mickey Mouse in there. So, okay. Why didn't I see it? But yeah, anyway, thank you so much, Shane. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience or, just make a note of before we conclude the show?
There's a lot of great campaigns out there right now that need support. I would say Mark Polton's a good one. He has a new campaign out right now, U.S. Assassin.
That's the Roddy Piper kind of crossover that he has going on.
Yes. So we're going to try having him on Pimp My Comic, I think this Wednesday. We just got to nail down the time. Okay. I would also say, a lot of people saying good things about Dino King. You can go check that out. I think you had it. You looked at it.
I did. And I kind of took my just off the cuff ramblings from last night, kind of the impromptu review, and I tried to edit it into some sort of coherent, not much of just blabbering nonsense, but tried to, edit it so it makes sense. I didn't really like it when I first read it, and then I had to stop and then kind of go back and read it again. And then on the second read through, there are elements that I did really enjoy the first read through, and that whole kind of what Ethan was touching on with the family and, what it means to be a human being and what humanity means and compassion and caring for your fellow man and all that. And what's
I haven't read it yet myself.
Yeah.
I kind of came in late to it, but I'm looking forward to reading it. And to be honest, any campaign out there right now, guys, it doesn't cost anything to retweet.
Very true.
So, consider retweeting some campaigns. We are a group. I know some people have different issues with it, but we are a group that's here to make comics and promote comics. Have a fun time on YouTube, and you can walk and chew gum at the same time. So.
Pat your head, rub your belly.
All these things, rub your tummy, pat your head. But promote some campaigns. Get out there, mods if you can. If you're ask for a wrench, drop some links. Wooden shot. Here we
Drop
go.
your shot. All right. Oh my God. Do it.
All right.
Take your shot, wooden shot. What the fuck did I do to you? What the fuck did I do to anybody?
So you have
Oh Lord.
fun over here, guys. That's what we do. We have fun.
For sure. At the end of the day, it's about the comics. The love of comics.
Yeah,
All right.
it is. But you also have to understand we're also a promotional division. Like, right? We have to capture an audience. We have to entertain people and get and present them a book to order.
Yeah.
And I know that's a hat a lot of artists don't want. Their mainstream artists are used to somebody like Bob Wayne at DC Comics or Dan Didio or Paul Levitt's doing that part for you. We don't have those people here. You have to get involved. You have to start, getting audience to sit around and watch you so you can advertise your book to them. And look, we're
Toot
here.
your own horn.
I mean, it's the hardest part of this for sure.
Alrighty.
All right.
Well,
thank you for having me on. You are into the community.
And thank you for those reveals. I really appreciate it. That was so kind of you to share that art and the the merch that you're looking at possibly getting out there. So thank you big time for that.
But seriously, don't get down in the dumps.
I know.
Let people drag you out of this dojo. You're part of the group. You're here to advertise comics and read comics, enjoy comics. Don't let
And I think sometimes I get wrapped up in everything and I forget that's what it's all about, is reading the comics, enjoying the comics, and talking about the comics. So yeah, Past Master Dan, do what you love. That is true. And I love all of you guys, but I'm not going to do all of you. But I just will say thank you so much for showing up and participating tonight. It's been fun. You guys are great. Thank you so much for everyone who was kind enough to send a super chat. I mentioned earlier that I do have memberships finally available on the channel. If you are, so inclined, please check it out. See the different tiers that I have available. I have some kind of art in there, the little for the perks, the badges, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, check it out. And please, if you haven't already, hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done that. Definitely helps me out a ton. And I think with that, I will bid the chat adieu. Shane, thank you again. If you don't mind hanging out for just a mo in the back room. And with that, I will say bye. Do you want to say crossfire?
Crossfire!
Crossfire!
Get these ear sets off of me. I've had enough. Get the hell out of my house. In Jesus' name, I pray.